It can happen to anybody, you all. I don't care what kind of a gun you hunt with, sometimes you're going to have a misfire. In this case scenario right here, I'm using a flintlock rifle. I just showed my enemy where I am, my location. I just missed my food and I'm going to starve. Or I just turned myself in to grizzly bear poop. And I don't want to be grizzly bear poop, you all. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about some of the things you can do to keep your rifle functioning in the pouring down snow or rain. Some dry leaves under here, or semi-dry leaves. Alright, you all. There we go. You all, this ain't Hollywood, I'm telling you right now. I had to use the four-wheel drive to get in this mountain this morning. But I just started that fire with flint and steel and some leaves. Just takes a little coaxing. Alright, you all, let's talk about some of the ways to keep your flintlock functioning in foul weather, rain or snow. Of course, you've got to keep your powder dry. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about that. If the powder's wet, you ain't going to fire no shot. So, what happens to your flintlock rifles? Alright, let's say, first of all, you cleaned that flintlock rifle and you fill that thing up with some type of oil and you stored it. And you decided that you was going to go hunting the next morning, and you went out and you stuffed a charge down this gun barrel right here, and now you're having a malfunction to where either the pan's not going to set the powder off in the barrel, okay? And that happens, and it's happened to me before. That's the reason I'm telling you this. One of the first things you should do once you've cleaned that weapon, okay, when you get ready to take it out into the woods, run a couple of patches down the barrel of your gun and clean that oil back out of that gun barrel, because it's going to settle in the bottom right back here on your breech. And when it settles on that breech, sometimes it will mess up the charge in your barrel, okay? It will get it oily wet and then it won't function right. It might go off, but it may not function correctly, okay? That's one of the first things you want to do, is make sure that you clean out the gun barrel before you load it, okay? Next thing you want to do, you all, is make sure that your flint is good and sharp. Check that flint and make sure that it's nice and sharp so that it's going to throw you a spark. Take you some type of, I often will use just an alcohol swab that I carry, and I will clean the pan out really good. The alcohol will evaporate. That way when you put your powder charge in the pan and you shut the lock down, then it's going to be secure. Now some people say in foul weather to use some type of beeswax around that pan right there on the top of the pan to actually seal it up so that water cannot get to the charge. Now, I've never done that. I read about that, but I've never done that. So now you will see different types of things sold on the internet, covers to cover up your lock system, and that's all well and good. You can also, you guys, well, they call them knees calves. It's what the old timers called them, because that's what they made them out of. They slipped them down over the lock. It was a piece of leather that sit there until you got ready to shoot the gun, and you slipped it out of the way or brought it off of the gun. Now, knees calves are not these things that you see where you just wrap a piece of leather around your gun. Okay, that's not exactly what that is. So what else can you do? Well, you could take a piece of plastic or something like that and just take it and put it over top of that lock if that's all you've got. All right. Now, one thing when you're hunting in the rain, I found this out, that I never had a misfire, but hunting in the rain, if you get water down your gun barrel and that patch that you put in there for that ball ain't sealed that up completely and sealed up your lands, your grooves and your lands, water can run down the grooves or the rifling, the grooves of your gun, and it can get to the powder and cause it to misfire. Okay, that's happened to plenty of mountain men. Okay, so what they would do was they would make sure, especially when they needed their gun, and when they were hunting grizzlies or grizzly bears or something else was hunting them, they would want to carry the gun with the gun barrel down so that the water would run off the end of the gun barrel. That's what they would do. The locking system, like I say, they would have it probably just cradled up under their arm like this out of the rain. And that's the way that I hunted with this gun and have hunted with this rifle, okay? I don't have a knees cap. I need to make one, a calf's knee, to cover it up. I don't have one, and I probably need to do a video on how to really do that and make it look authentic. But that's some of the things that you can do. Like I say now, when you load your gun, make sure, I brought this gun from the hot house this morning, you guys, out into 20 degrees weather. All right. When you do that, that gun's going to automatically sweat. Before you take and load it up to go on your hunt, swab that barrel out. Clean that barrel out until it's perfectly dry before you shove a powder charge down it. Now, of course, you all, when you load your rifle, make sure that you take your nipple, your pick, and you pick that hole out going back to your powder charge so that loose powder has got back to the edge of your pan right there. You will be able to actually see that powder coming out into your pan. All right, make sure you do that. When I first built this gun and took it to the mountains, I made sure that it was bad weather, just like it is today. It was pouring the snow when I went to deer hunt, and I did kill a deer that day, but I educated a couple of more of them with flashes in the pan because I hadn't pricked that hole out. So what I'd done was I took the gun home and I took the air compressor and I just blowed the powder out of the pan and made sure the pan was really good and clean. So, you know, to keep from having an accident that way. But make sure you clean that hole out. But I did kill a deer with this gun the first year that I built it. Now, you all in foul weather, you know that I like a backup plan. That backup plan is to be able to sit under these rocks right here and watch the valley below me. You can't really see anything in the mountains of Virginia like this right here, but there are deer trails and bear trails all over these woods right here. And we're up at 3,500 feet. So my backup plan, you just sit here and watch for the deer or watch for the bear or whatever else that I'm hunting. So always have a backup plan. You know, when it's miserable weather, you really don't want to hunt anyway. But if you think about it, the mountain men had to hunt. The people had to feed their family. They had to, you know, gather the skins that they were trying to get to make a living. So it didn't make any difference whether it was foul weather or not. They still had to keep them guns functioning. So you can think about those things. If it was war, think about all the wars that the patriots of the United States of America won with flintlock rifles. That's the way they started out, with flintlocks. So they had to have a way in foul weather to keep them things going. Now here's one trick that you can learn, you guys. If you're going to your stand and you know that stand's a mile away, I'm almost a mile off of the road right here, you guys, up at 3,500 feet. If you don't need to load that gun, if you don't think that you need any powder in that gun, you don't need to load that gun until you get to where you're going. This gun is not loaded, you guys. It's not. It hadn't been loaded this morning whatsoever. You seen me do that flash in the pan just to illustrate that that's what can happen to you, okay? If you don't need to load it, don't load it until you get to your stand. Then clean your barrel out and load your barrel, okay? Then, if you don't need powder, especially if it's raining and you've got to keep it covered up, if you see an animal coming and you've got plenty of time, you got your charge powder there, your pan powder, right handy around your neck like I carry it, then you can then load the pan. That way that powder charge in that pan ain't sucked up none of your body moisture. Because when you put your hands, your wet gloves and all that stuff and hold them over top of the lock of your gun, that powder can eventually and will eventually suck up enough moisture to cause you to have a fouled up flash in the pan where the gun does not go off, okay? So remember that. If it doesn't need to be loaded, don't load it. Don't load it. Mountain men were not always running around, contrary to popular belief, with that gun loaded, okay? They knew better. They knew that once they had a charge in that barrel that wasn't going to go off, that they were going to have to get that bullet back out of that barrel and clean that gun. So they made sure, under certain conditions, that the thing was going to work. Of course, if you're in a firefight and you're loading fast and all that kind of stuff, you're going to have a malfunction. But if you're out here in the woods and you're hunting deer and you have a malfunction in your gun barrel where you've messed up, you've got the powder wet or oily till it won't go off, then you're going to have to quit hunting and take your gun, take your screw and take that bullet back out of the barrel so that you can clean the gun barrel out, okay? That's just the way it happens. Why do I know? Well, I'm 70 and a half years old. It's happened to me, okay? And I didn't have a flintlock. I had a cap buster, all right? And a cap buster will do the same thing. Same principle for your cap buster. That powder might be covered up by that little nipple, but it can still have a malfunction. You see you're loading there in that thing now. One of the things you guys can understand is, see this wide brim hat? That's really what mountain men wore, guys. Daniel Boone didn't wear no coonskin cap. Now you look here. I can take this cap, this hat, and I can keep the pan and this powder dry right here for this particular setup right here. Now, I'm going to make sure that the hole's clean. I'm going to put the powder in the pan. I think I overloaded the pan there this morning, you guys. Don't want to do that. Close it down. And now we're going to take the shot. You see how I had just a second of hang fire right there, you guys? That's just the way it happens. Now, for all you people out there that think that this gun right here won't kill a grizzly bear or anything else in the woods, you just don't know anything about muzzleloaders. I've heard people say on the internet, well, that thing won't kill no bear. That thing can't kill big game. Well, that's in a solid maple tree. And I'm going to say that it's 2 inches inside that solid maple tree right there. And of course, you all, a hero camera can have a malfunction. Sometimes the sound will just take a little bit of time off with your hero camera. Anyway, you all, God bless you. Hope you learned something from watching this video. Have yourself a wonderful day.